Hello everyone, we are back with another demo from Steam's Nextfest. Today's demo is Vampire the Masquerade, Oath and Ashes. I have never played a Masquerade game before, but I am interested in it. So I was like, well, they said it was beginner friendly. I was like, let's just try it out. So let's get into it. New game. Yep. Prologue. Opera Garnier Paris. Present day. There are places in the mortal world that bend towards hierarchy without being told to do so. Buildings that train one into obedience simply by existing. The Opera Garnier is one of them. You can see it in the way the audience settles down before the lights dim. How voices lower instinctively. How even impatience takes on a rehearsed shape. Velvet and gold do most of the work. The rest is a habit. The performance begins long before the curtain rises, and it never truly ends. Our world survives on that principle. The traditions endure because most kindred still fear what happens without them. We learn our roles early. We carry them night after night, regardless of what hides beneath the mask. Now, there is some things that, okay. I'm guessing there is going to be a glossary. Every city hides secrets worth remembering. Alice keeps tracks of people, places, and kindred terminology in her journal. You can also revisit gameplay tutorials there at any time. Highlighted text has glossary entries. New journal entry. Because once enough undead decides the rules no longer apply to them, mortals begin to notice. Most understand this. Etienne Duabanji did not. The Camarilla gave him everything he wanted: status, protection, an audience eager to admire him. He accepted it willingly and played his part flawlessly until the role no longer satisfied him. Okay, so I'll come back to that later, but I want to do. Oh, that sucks. Disciplines are special dialogue choices that may require the hunger to be used. If Alice's hunger is above the required cost, the choice would not be available. I don't care about. I'm trying to find the Camarilla, also known as the Tower. The Camarilla is one of the most organized and influential kindred organization in history. Their goal is to preserve the masquerade and keep kindred in line with rules that help protect their society from the prying mortal eye. So they're the enforcers? Beyond this, it is a conspiracy to help elders preserve their power, built on an undead secret society that influences global business and politics. The Camarilla is the closest thing they have to a system of government and an international union of cities. It is completed by an inner circle and its judiciaries and archons that roam the world to keep the peace. A fierce mortal stance is held on preserving humanity even after the impulses of the blood, seeing themselves as shepherds to the herd of mortal they blindly control. Many Camarilla members have a wealth of power and money on top of their age, and the inclusion of anarch defects joining their ranks makes the sect distinctly upper class. And then it was Kindred. A Camarilla term for vampires, either in a group of one or one single vampire. According to rumors, this came about after the Anarch Revolt in the 15th or 16th century. The Masquerade. Thou shalt not reveal thy true nature to those not of the blood. Doing such will renounce thy claims of blood. a tradition kept that is not only universally respected by both the Camarilla and the Anarchs, but also the most broken. This represents the Masquerade, the fact that humans must never know about the supernatural, which influences the careful nature of all kindred. Careful nature all kindred must have in order to survive the modern age of technology. One sloping feeding, one missed time, one slopping feeding, one missed time's action on a live stream, or one missed time confession to a mortal lover could spell doom for those involved as the Second Inquisition comes knocking down the door to find the creatures that have breached. It is expected that any issue created are quickly solved before anything dire happens to them or those they love. What else? It was the traditions. 6 traditions create the framework of governance among kindred. While they are open to interpretation in each domain and some are more important than others, they are ancient traditions that all Camarilla kindred are aware of. Okay. Then he tore the script apart and stepped off the stage in full view of the house, aligning himself with the Anarchs and daring the rest of us to react. Anarchs, also known as the movement. Originally called the Anarch Revolt, the sect is as old as the revolution against the Camarilla itself. In recent decades, it has seen vast growth as younger kindred find it increasingly difficult to understand why they must follow the laws of the elders, who care nothing for them, but to throw them in harm's way when needed. All vampires who fall outside of the tower's control are considered unbound. And the Anarchs movement is a small but visible subsection of the unbound who, rather than hide, have decided to fight back. They fight to claim territory for those who oppress them, as the ancient hands that held onto it are disappearing due to the beckoning or other outside forces. Word on the street is that the Anarchs seek revolution. With more and more elders disappearing and younger, fresher kindred appearing, the Anarch members grow. The centuries-long lethargy has worn off as they remember how to fight. Some Anarch domains possess a prince, or as the Anarch called them, baron. Other domains are instead controlled by gangs who have their own turf, each their own turf. It is also possible for Anarchs to have a combination of those roles and groups in one single domain. Okay. Defiance itself is nothing uncommon. Every century produces a few malcontents. Convicted rules exist. Every century produces a few malcontents. Convicted rules exist solely to restrain them. What makes Etienne dangerous is that his spectacle is a hair away from being contagious, and others might have already rehearsed the same betrayal in private, waiting only for the courage to perform it in public. That is why I'm here. Capturing him will do more than restore order. It will prove what I have spent decades demonstrating already, that I am fit to bear the title of Archon. So, okay, Alice. Aspiring Archon to Judiciaire Lucinde. Born 1807, embraced 1840. Clan Ventru. Generation 10th. Affiliation Camarilla. They say some are born into greatness, but it's never that simple. Greatness is neither gifted nor stumbled into. It's taken, fanged, and clawed from the clutches of those who never thought you worthy. Ventru Archon Judiciaire. Clan Ventru. The clan of kings, blue bloods, tyrants, warlords, patricians, Borgis? The Ventru are not called the clan of kings for nothing. Carefully choosing their progeny from mortals familiar with power, wealth, and influence, the Ventru style themselves the aristocrats of the vampire world. Their members are expected to assume command whenever possible, and they are willing to endure storms for the sake of leading from the front. To them, they are the rightful heirs of power and command. The Ventru have held more positions of power than any other clan, as god kings in ancient Babylon to majority shareholders and campaign funds backers in the modern age. They hold their footing as long as they could. Though in recent nights, their status has begun to slip. Many Ventru feel their time is running out, and as their privileges slip through their fingers, most Ventru tighten their grasp, willing to fight fang and claw to keep hold. Clan Ventru has long been the leader of the Camarilla. Oh, she's high up of the Camarilla, even after losing their most prominent representation, Halderstadt, to a Bruja assassination. A majority of the clan believes that the strength of the tradition and lineage is what holds them above the rest. Though these nights they are careful, blending into humanity behind the scenes. Resentment is building from having to control the strings from behind the curtain, but curtailing the masquerade and possible breaches that would follow should they not is crucial. What was that? Bruja. Oh, I don't see anything about that. Archons, clan, Camarilla. Even outside of business, they function as if one. They are the establishment that so many aid to destroy. They set and maintain the rules. They punish those who do not keep them, with the occasional treat for those who do. Those who do not like their methods call them tyrants for keeping Kindred down. However, without them, the Camarilla and in turn the Masquerade would have fallen long ago. Archon. Beneath the judiciaries are the Archons, who against what one may think are more than simply hired killers. While they are elite hired killers and warriors, they are also scholars and investigators. And this is what she's aspiring to be. Each Archon is hand-selected by a justiciar and given only one chance to deny the opportunity. Should they take it, they will be enforcing familial law, seeking out secrets, or spying on enemies of the tower. Some may operate alone and others work within coteries. Often justiciars will blood-bound their Archons to themselves or to each other. Even if they are not bound to anyone by blood, they still have less freedom of actions than the justiciars. They can expect to be obeyed when they order the final death of a kindred. Due to this, Archons can destroy an entire domain without an explanation. I know death. I don't see anything about that. But I wanted justiciars. With only 5 clans remaining within the tower, the justiciars hold more responsibility and power than ever. Each are selected to a 13-year term, and few, save for the Ventru, serve more than once. They decide the matters of war and law and act as the voice of the inner circle. Beyond these tasks, they also uphold the traditions. With their titles, they are able to control any assets or resources of the Camarilla at will. This also includes its members. When the majority of Clan Gangrel and Clan Bruja departed from the sect, their justiciars were removed. Though there are rumors spreading that a neutral kindred will soon be appointed as justiciar of outsiders to represent the Anteribu and officially unaffiliated clans. Until the mass departure, the representatives for Clan Gangrel and Clan Bruja was Jeffrey Lee and Manuela Cardoso Pinto. Rumors do circulate that a neutral kindred may be appointed as justiciar of outsiders to represent the Antritribu and officially unofficiated clans. Ivy Rio, Macabian, an oracle and counsel to the justiciars, have foretold that the numbers of justiciars should be 7, as it is an important number. This number should remain the same to keep the Camarilla strong. Huh. Alright. Go back. Victories like this open doors in our society. Results are the only currency that survives Elysium, particularly when no one can question who earned them. Okay, I feel like I'm doing this a lot. Elysium, or Elysia, if plural, are spaces created that maintain a sanctuary where no violence is allowed. Okay. For that reason, this mission should have been mine alone. Judicia Lucinde, however, deemed it necessary to assign me a companion. As if Thomas of all kindred could add anything but complications. Thomas. Lasombra? Clan Lasombra. My rival from the very moment we were introduced. Why is his stuff crossed out? Lasombras. Plant, nope. Ventru. Barn door. Alright. He sits beside me now, one arm draped along the velvet balustrade, posture arranged to suggest ease. He doesn't watch the stage. His attention drifts through the audience instead, slow and methodical, hunting for a familiar face among unfamiliar ones. He is already looking for Etienne. Protect the Masquerade. The Masquerade is the sacred rule of Kindred society. Every choice you make may preserve it or bring mortals one step closer to discovering the existence of vampires. Break the Masquerade. Break the Masquerade too many times and you will face death. He is also... we're intact, and then if it goes gold is at risk. If it goes red, we're breached. Okay. You're staring, Alice. Out with it. She is aiming for a high position, and she doesn't like him. Why did Etienne choose an opera house? You've known him for longer than I have. Why here? Paris is full of bolt holes and he chooses the most conspicuous one? Thomas lets the question hang between us for a moment. When he finally speaks, faint amusement threads through his voice alongside mockery and that effortless, aristocratic contempt he never bothers to conceal. He's a Torrendor. They rot without attention. Doop, 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 doop. The clan of divas, degenerates, artists, harlots, hedonists, sensates, auriculates, known for their seductive nature, enthralling demeanor, and etiquette grace to the point of obsession. Torrendor vampires embrace artists and lovers in their ranks, forever trying to stir their own deadened hearts. Supernaturally grateful and charming, the divas are always looking for the next thrill, leaving the detritus of discarded lovers and victims in their wake. A clan who exudes beauty, one who seeks out the aesthetics in life and holds their obsession with it. However, it is a mistake to think of them as nothing but divas and perverts. Beauty is power, and the way they utilize love to influence those around them to do just about anything is an invaluable weapon. The elders of their clan stress that the embrace must be given to those worthy, and that the clan seeks out pioneers of different arts. The clan prospers when it's filled with fresh ideas and those who value experimentation and discoveries of new aesthetics. Because of this trait, the clan is riddled with a wide range of artists. However, to the Torrendor, art is not only done with paint or a pencil. Artists, singers, poets, and more fill in their ranks as long as they're billed to be bringing something new to the table. And although they seek out the best of the best, it is not unheard of for one of the hedonists to embrace another in a moment of weakness and haste, creating a subpar child after the pool of blood that that they died in was too beautiful to let them go. Still, the clan holds its diversity between talents, beauty, and other core traits that their sire found as an asset. Okay. They rot without attention. If he wanted an audience, he chose the wrong side of the curtain. It's the Emperor Garnier. Half of Paris comes here to be seen. Etienne naturally chose to turn it into a stage. You don't seriously think he'd risk making himself the spectacle? Not here. Not with this many witnesses. Those who want to be remembered rarely concern themselves with collateral damage. Ruling anything out would be careless. If he decided this is the end, he'll want it arranged properly. One last performance before the curtain falls. You're giving him a great deal of consideration. Are you sympathizing with him? I'm considering his motives. Not even remotely. I'm trying to understand. You know, it's kind of like an investigation thing she's trying to become. So I'm trying to understand what made him decide this was worth the cost. You shouldn't. Lucinde sent us here to resolve a problem, not understand it. Nothing you uncover will alter what happens when we find him. I'm not here to change the outcome. And yet, something about this mission clearly unsettles you. Don't mistake my composure for unease. Spare me your fake concern, and do not mistake my composure for unease. I'm long past such frailties. How unbearably been true of you. He watches me for a moment longer than necessary. His eyes drift down my profile, slow and unapologetic. The jaw held just a little too tight, the tension behind your eyes. Don't confuse observation with concern, Alice. I simply enjoy watching you pretend restraint comes naturally to you. Focus less on my nerves and more on locating our target. I was doing just that until you decided to psychoanalyze a traitor in the middle of an operation. Do us both a favor. Start looking for Etienne before he makes us pay for his mistakes. He moves away before I can decide whether to respond. His attention shifts back to the audience, as though I've already been filed away, assessed and dismissed. Whatever expression he wore for me is gone. In its place, focus and purpose. If anyone were watching us, and I doubt they were, they would see nothing out of place. Two figures in shadows. Another private conversation lost in the dark and the orchestra. But the anger sits tight in my chest, and I'm not sure whose it's meant for. Him for taking control of the exchange so effortlessly, or myself for letting him. I was trained better than this. Either way, it doesn't matter. If nothing interferes, I will find Etienne before Thomas does. Mid-50s bodies, dark hair silvering at the temple, a suit too well cut, and a bow tie too red for a man who wants to disappear. He wouldn't neither, if not for the fan he never parts with, black lacquer, crimson roses woven into the silk. I remember it more clearly than his face. I raise the opera glasses and let habit take over. The angles gives me a clear view of the stalls and most of the lower balconies. There's enough blind spots to complicate things, and the longer it takes, the more dangerous it becomes. Where should I begin? I won't have time to check everything before the show ends, so I have to choose carefully. Ooh. The stage, the audience, the upper balconies, the opposite boxes. Keep your eyes on the exit. Let's look at the opposite boxes. From this angle, the mortals in the opposite boxes resolve into framed figures. Gilded, partially obscured, posed exactly as they wish to be seen. I let my gaze move from one box to the next, and I got you, Etienne, and you're running out of time. He sits draped in a shadow within the Loge de Fantôme de l'Opéra, and the one seat in the house that mortals whisper about, swearing that any who sits there risks calling down misfortune upon themselves. He keeps to the habits of his clan, a box drenched in legend, ringed with whispered curses, even in disgrace, a Torrendor. Is that how you pronounce it? Never abandons the comfort of theatrics. There's another man beside him, shifting restlessly. Etienne leans towards him, murmuring something behind the elegant flare of his fan, letting silk and liqueur mask his words. When the man steps aside, Etienne seems perfectly at ease, eyes on the stage, as if nothing else in the world exists. But then I see it. The faint, deliberate tap of his fingers against the fan's edge. Once. Twice. A third time. A signal? The old code comes back to me at once. I wish to speak with you. There. Thomas follows my voice lazily, one brow arching. Well, that's bold. The man got nerve. Sitting in the opera box as if he owns the place? Not the box, the fan. He squints, unimpressed. What about it? Hideous taste. He's tapping it, deliberately. I watch the motion again, the same precise rhythm, the same measured touch. It means I wish to speak with you. He's communicating. Someone's there with him. Thomas chuckles softly, leaning back, pleased with his own skepticism. You give him too much credit. Not every gesture is a conspiracy. Etienne's hand moves again, another gesture, sharper this time. Follow me. He's warning someone above. I'm on my feet before the words fully form. The motion draws Thomas upright with annoyance, his irritation snapping through the air like static. As I move forward and brace a hand on the gilded railing, I scan the balconies above, row after row, until my gaze catches a shimmer of pink silk vanishing behind the heavy curtain. Gone before I can even fully confirm their presence. There was nothing in Lucinda's report about additional operatives, which means we have to go. If we lose control right now, we lose control of everything that follows. You know, you sound so much like Lucinda right now. So I'm the only one thinking ahead. Move. Thomas gives me a look that teeters between concern and exasperation. Curtain or not, we are moving. We are leaving. Now. Pursue Etienne. We leave the box. We leave the box immediately. Head for the stairs. The door shuts behind us with a final thud, sealing the last chorus of the orchestra into darkness. I take the lead. Thomas follows, his shoes tapping a rhythm I've endured longer than I care to admit. Soon the passage widens and the grand escalade opens before us. Its gilded, balustrades curl upward like the spine of some slumbering beast. Chandeliers blazing high above us, ready to seize the shape of anyone foolish enough to step into their light. There is no corner here deep enough to hide in. Whoever built this hall understood that visibility is its own form of discipline. That beauty, weaponized properly, can be the most merciless interrogator of all. Even with the opera still in full swing beyond the doors, the foyer is far from empty. Staff lean against the walls, guests chat in low voices, and the guard stands bored at the entrance. Too many eyes we don't need. Then there's Etienne, slipping right through them, barely giving a glance to anyone around him. Either he is a world-class actor, or he truly hasn't realized we're on his tail. He takes the opposite staircase and turns towards a side hallway marked as staff only. I quicken my pace, but a shimmer of pink silk, the same shade as earlier, flashes in my periphery. The thin shawl moves with its bearer, a woman with olive skin that seems to hold its own soft glow, her dark glossy hair pulled back, but for a few strands, framing her face. Poised and careful in her step, her gaze locked unbroken on Etienne, fixed on him with a focus too intent to be dismissed as coincidence. She is the one he was speaking with. Every single on that fan was meant for her. I would stake my hand on it. There. Shall we? Now we know exactly where our slippery friend is headed. We have company. We're not the only ones following him. We have company right there. He barely checks his stride, but I see the subtle shift of his shoulders, the smallest admission that I've seen something he hasn't. His gaze slides towards the woman, lazy at first, then sharpening. The woman in the pink scarf. I saw the same shimmer when we were still in the box. Now this is interesting. Are you certain? Her eyes haven't left Etienne since we stepped out of the corridor. I want to interrogate her. Thomas follows her path with genuine curiosity, and in that moment, I almost believe he'll take me seriously, but the moment breaks. His laugh is low and cruel, not loud enough to draw attention, but sharp enough to slice straight through the space between us. You cannot possibly be serious. She may know something. She may know nothing. Meanwhile, Etienne is walking into a staff corridor. Do you see the difference? He takes a single step backwards, granting me the illusion of space. Go on then, do whatever you like. After all, you're a capable woman, aren't you? Eager to gamble our success on a hunch. But I'm not sticking around to answer for failures. I'm going after Etienne. And with that, he turns his back, and I am left standing in the middle of the foyer, suspended between two possibilities, pulling at me with equal force. To my left, the woman in pink slips up the staircase towards the upper foyer, her figure thinning into the glow of the chandeliers until she becomes nothing more than a shard of color drifting through shadow, a lure set for me alone. To my right, Etienne's silhouette dissolves into the bounds of the opera house, swallowed by the service corridor like a secret eager to bury itself deeper, running towards consequences he has already accepted. Instinct on the left, duty on the other. And in between, the knife edge of my own judgment. Son of a gun. We're gonna pursue. The woman in the pink might be a thread worth pulling or nothing more than a coincidence. Etienne, however, he is a certainty, a fixed point in the chaos, the one variable in this collapsing equation that refuses to change no matter how the world shifts around him. And certainty is the only thing I cannot afford to ignore, not tonight. We know that we have a plan. She's trying to be the Archon. I can't believe the thoughts even forms, much less that I allowed myself to acknowledge it, but Thomas is right. I turn away from the woman's trail. I follow Etienne. I lengthen my stride, slipping back into the current of panicked bodies until I fall into step beside Thomas. He doesn't look at me first. He doesn't look at me at first. He doesn't look at me first. That was right the first time. The smirk is already there, tugging at the corner of his mouth. So, he decided to listen to reason after all. I love her design. His tone is light, almost playful, but the cruelty is a needle he's been saving for exactly this moment. The irritation sparking in me has a lot to do with him, and he, unfortunately, knows that. I decided that Etienne isn't someone to give a head start, that's all. Thomas turns his head a fraction more, granting me a fuller look. His expression is a picture of amused disbelief, a silent accusation wrapped neatly in mockery. He doesn't believe me for a moment, but I will not reward him with the admission. We keep moving side by side, slipping through the thinning chaos, our steps falling into an involuntary harmony. The noise behind us dulls with each pace until only the echo of our footfalls remain, steady and precise, carrying us both towards the same traitor and the same inevitable reckoning. Etienne has already vanished into the service hall, a narrow, unlit seam carved between slabs of gold-washed stone, a corridor meant for staff who were never meant to be seen, the perfect place for a coward to run. We moved to follow, but before we could cross the threshold, a shape steps sharply into our path. The opera guard plants himself in front of the archway with the rigid ceremonial solidity of someone who has rehearsed the gesture but never expected to use it. His hand rises in a neat practice halt, palm outward, a gesture meant to command compliance through sheer confidence alone. His voice is polite, but polite in the way mortals often are when they have no fangs to bear, only rules in the hope that rules will be followed. I'm afraid this area is off limits. Please return to the public floors. He does not know the gravity of the moment he interrupts. He does not know that he has placed himself between predators and their prey, and the only thing keeping him alive is the masquerade stretched too thin tonight. Thomas moves forward, attempting to move past the guard, a shadow striking with perfect intention. But the man holds his ground, immovable in the earnest, hopeless way of someone who believes duty will catch him if he falls. Thomas leans back, irritation sharpening the line of his jaw, casting his expression in the dangerous half-light, where annoyance becomes something far less civil. You have no idea how little this matters to me. Resist the beast. All vampires suffer from hunger, the relentless thirst for blood. Using disciplines and encountering certain situations increases your hunger. The higher it rises, the harder it becomes to restrain the beast. When hunger rises, the beast may take over. The beast. Many kindred believe that the moment they are embraced is when the beast grows. For fledglings, it is often a feeling of having lost a vital part of themselves and replaced with something indescribable and lingering. The beast is a constant reminder of the tainted vampire blood that now runs within them. The beast lurks within a consciousness of vampires, reminding them of the endless hunger and lust to devour more. Okay. So 0, we're at 0. 3, and then 5. Okay. The guard's fingers twitch towards the small radio at his back. It's an instinct reaching for help that cannot possibly arrive fast enough. Ooh, we're gonna compel him. Make him let you pass. I step forward before Thomas can decide this mortal is an inconvenience, best solved with finality. Placing myself between the guard and the danger he cannot comprehend. Officer, listen. We're not here to cause trouble. My voice moves cleanly through the hallway, a controlled thread of calm cut through the leftover panic. It's gentle without warmth, authoritative without force. His eyes rise, and that is all I require. You're going to let us through. Oh, it's cool. No sharpness, no threat. Just a simple, inevitability spoken aloud. The command sinks into him with visible effect. The stillness drains from his shoulders. The breath leaves his chest in a sharp, subdued gasp, and whatever objection he meant to form dissolves before he can reach his... Oh, crap. He steps aside with the obedient clarity of someone who believes he had just remembered a rule he was always meant to follow. I move forward, slipping past the guard into the corridor. The chandelier's warmth dies behind us, replaced by the cold reach of the unlit passageway. Go to the roof. Okay. The access door gives under your hand and the roof opens in front of me. Wet metal, stone balustrades, and rake of wind sliding across the sheeted roof. Paris slips out beyond the edge in sheets of pale light. Etienne is already out in the open, a few steps from the drop, one hand resting on the slick stone of the balustrade. Rain runs down his sleeves, falling straight into the dark. He doesn't look startled to see me. He looks like someone who expected the moment to arrive exactly as it has. I take 3 steps onto the roof, and enough to clear the doorway, enough to mark the distance between us. The surface under my shoes is uneven. Roof plates, natural gutters, the occasional raised scam waiting to trip the inattentive. Etienne notes every movement I make without turning his head. Then the access door slams behind me. Thomas explodes onto the roof, too fast for the surface he hasn't assessed. Of course he does. The boot skid on a raised edge and his balance lurches. He caroms sideways into me. Catch him. I catch him by the lapels of his coat before he stumbles past and shove him back towards a stretch of level footing beside the balustrade, away from the slab of metal that would happily deposit him into a free fall. I don't save him from his state. Our exchange with Etienne might simply require additional distraction. Thomas curses, already shifting his weight in search of his steadier footing. Etienne still hasn't turned fully towards us. He lifts his hand from the coping and shifts a half step towards the narrow stone rim, adjusting the angle between us with deliberate care. In that same motion, he flicks open his fan, carved bone slats catching the rain. A toreador's affectation, unless one notices the razor-thin edge glittering along its tips. He keeps both of us in the corner of his eye, facing the city below. Rain traces a thin silver line down his cheek. He's setting the position, quietly, methodically, waiting to see which of us will move first. So this is where it ends. Oh, that's the fan. His voice carries oddly well through the wind, calm. I take one step forward, fast enough to claim the space time is nearly ruined. Converse. For you, yes. For me, it's just the beginning. Recognition tugs at his mouth, humorless. I knew it would be you, Alice Littleton, not him. His fingers tap against the stone, marking a rhythm only he could hear. Another half-step shift, deliberate enough that I catch it immediately, adjusting the triangles between us again. Tell me, Alice, is Lucinda's reward so precious that your sacrifice was even more precious to you? The knowing of why. He snaps the fan once, a soft sack of wet fabric against the bone. For a split second, I feel him probing, slipping a cold fingertip against the lock of my thoughts as if he has a claim to them. How dare he? The arrogance of it, that he knows me better than I know myself? That he can dangle the why like bait in front of my face, makes my grip on the stake tighten. A provocation, cheap and transparent, almost pitiable coming from him. Behind me, Thomas scoffs, sharp, impatient, old money disdain ground down into a single sound. Look at him. He thinks this is a conversation. Wind lashes across the roof, forcing Thomas to brace. We never ask the important questions. Why? Why am I here? Is it fate or is it just my choice? An old kindred discovers exterialism. Saints preserve me. Now he's playing the ancient sage while he's measured the ground beneath our feet. Pathetic and dangerous. Let's make him quiet. I realize you love the sound of your own voice, but I don't care for it much, to be honest. How about a nice bout of silence? Don't waste your words. He's crazy. Neither of you ever care about the why. You cared about the leash. Shorter, longer, embellished with promises or threats, but still a leash. Those who adore their leash so much don't ask why. They ask how high, or will I get the leftovers? I don't trust this. Let Thomas take point. Go on then, Thomas. You've been itching for this. Thomas doesn't need a second invitation. He steps forward, shoulders squared, voice raised. Etienne de Aubigny, by the order of Judiciaire Lucinde. Etienne cuts him off with a soft, humorous sound. Thomas. One word, enough to make him falter mid-syllable. Tell me, when did you start believing you mattered to her? Thomas stiffens. Etienne takes a half pace to the side, letting the rain carve a line down the bridge of his nose. You think Lucinde sent you to fetch me? You! The man she barely trusts to carry her books across her room. Thomas snaps taunt, rage prime and unthinking. De-escalate. I assume my least condescending tone. He is trying to provoke you, Thomas. Don't let him. Don't say. But he forcibly relaxes his jaw and shoulders just a touch. Something like malcontent flashes through Etienne's eyes, and he keeps on talking. You aspire to be a judicious hound, Thomas, but you're in fact just a docile little puppy, aren't you? A little puppy lost and abused, dreaming of being a wolf. Thomas lunges, exactly as Etienne knew he would. Here we go. Oh. Hang back and observe Etienne. Etienne is an art incarnate. He dances with such grace his feet seem barely to touch the treacherous roof. He pivots, his fan flashes. The slats sink as they pass, metal glancing off their sharpened edges. He meets Thomas with something altogether different. Precision. He yields a sliver of space, turning on the balls of his foot, letting Thomas' force slides past him like wind through a doorway. A blade then dodge, almost lazy, and somehow faster than it has any right to be. Thomas follows though, pivots, forearm up for a clinch, and Tien slips under it like a dancer who knows the steps 3 beats ahead. We're gonna launch after Thomas. Even though I would like nothing more than to let them have their scuffle on the wet copper, Thomas can't pin him alone. Etienne is too fast, and the roof gives him too many ways to slip the line. Much as it irritates me to admit, there is a reason why there are two kindred sent to the opera tonight. I loosen my grip on the stake and slide it between my coat. This isn't a moment for it. I quickly close in, but instead of diving into the fray with reckless abandon like Thomas, I simply orbit around, running interference. Disturb Etienne's rhythm here, block the path of his footwork here, annoy him until he makes a mistake. We separate for a beat, then clash again. A tight exchange of grips, angles, leverage. Thomas drives him towards the stone balustrade, shoes biting for traction on a surface that has none to give. Etienne pushes off the coping, reversing the pressure, pulls Thomas sideways in an arc that would throw a lesser fighter into the void. Make him stumble. Before the move is done, I kick Etienne's leg out from underneath him. While he gracefully recovers, Thomas stumbles away from the edge. Rain hammers on the roof plates. Wind takes across the edge of the dome. I stay out of the fight for a moment, rethinking our tactics while we draw their shapes on the battlefield. Thomas with brutal clarity, Etienne with elegant malice, both of them too competent to underestimate. The stake is back in my hand, steady and patient. Control the space. The fight isn't about strength, it's about terrain. So I take it. I shift left, then half a step forward. Closing the path Etienne keeps reaching for, the only stretch of the roof widened with enough flat metal to let him build speed. Box him in. Now every angle he tries pushes him towards the copper ornamentation and the steeper slant of the roof plate. No good footing there, no clean escape. He's boxed in, exactly where I want him. But he doesn't retreat, he drives in. His speed detonates. Before the wind can catch him, he's inside my reach. His fingers hook my wrist and twist. Join this lever, leverage his pivot. My shoulders follow, then my hips. The whole line of my stance dragged across the metal, straight into Thomas's charge. Thomas's barrels in expecting a clear shot of Etienne, he finds me. One moment before being slammed into the balustrade by his own momentum. He stops short, shoes screaming on the gutter, and Etienne is already gone. Not far, just a slip of distance reclaimed. Enough to reset, enough to reclaim the rooftop for one more second. And he's no longer boxed in. Etienne's next move is almost with no art, a straight ugly lunge that tells me he's run out of anything cleaner. He slams a hand against the cold bronze flank of Apollo's form, fingers scraping over brick slick weathered surface. Even its elegance falters under the guy's looming silhouette. Join the fight. I grab the stake and move. I cut across the room in a straight line, one even Etienne can't misread. He turns, too slow, still trying to finish what he started with Thomas. The stake is already in my hand, point forward, arm tight, heart line clear. Drive the stake in. I drive it in. Etienne's hand is staring in instinct, snapping up through the rain like a steel trap. His fingers clap around my wrist, the impact jarring all the way to my shoulders. The stake stops a hair above his sternum, close enough that I feel the rise of his chest against the point. For a moment, neither of us moves. We're locked in a cramped, graceless knot of limbs. Shoes scraping for purchase on the wet metal. His grip tightens. The storm howls around us, rattling the stones, tugging at our cloaks, trying to peel us off the roof like loose shingles. Push it. Where is Thomas? He pushes. I push harder. The stake trembles between us, its point hovering over his heart by the width of a fingernail. He's stronger up close than he looks. Desperate strength running on leftover will, leftover spite. I shift my weight down, knees bent. Feet solid on the ground. Etienne feels it, his leverage slips. I pull my wrist in tight, close to my chest, then twist. A sharp turn through the hips, not the feet. His grip can't follow the angle. It rips loose in a rough slide of fingers and rain. The line opens. That's all I need. Drive the stake in. I drive the stake forward, the same movement. Sharp, brutal, unstoppable. It plunges home with a wet final sound. Look at Thomas. Time stops, slow, vicious. Paris stems around us. Rain on what is this music? Rain on copper softening to a buzz. The stake holds him where he fell. Of course. The fury that drove him going out on all at once, and for a moment, nothing on the roof moves. The traitor is down, and that was the one purpose Thomas and I held in common. I feel him strengthen at my shoulder, and when his attention slides from the body to me, I already know what it carries. Two apex predators, eyes chained to one another's. Neither will stand down. Oh wait, so he's not dead. Only one of us will earn Lucinda's favor. Whoever places Etienne at her feet wins. The other goes home with nothing. Simple match. The stakes are clear. The action, of course, is not. The course of action is not. I know Thomas will move first. He knows I'll answer with brutal precision. One strike and ending it. But he and I, however, much I love to admit it, are evenly matched. Unless one of us finds an upper hand, we'll be exchanging blows until dawn fries us both to a crisp. Should I surprise him and strike now? But why abandon methods that are tried and true? What is this? Earth Preserve. Huh? Huh. Wait and watch. By the time I made up my mind, Thomas has already shifted. I see the decision in his eyes before the muscles follow. The only reason his lunge doesn't take my head off. Our steps thunder on the metal, water whipping in streams. The ageless sculptures, weeping from the rain, loom above us. Go low. Suddenly, I see an opening. I drop low and lunge, aiming to drive my elbow into his solar plexus, or perhaps through it. A mistake. Deliberately or not, Thomas has been herding me away from Etienne, step by step towards the rooftop's edge. He shoved me to a wall of in true stubbornness. I don't fall, but he wins. He gives me a then derisive smile and leaps away, closing the rooftop where I tear myself free of the stone, crossing the rooftop. He picks up Etienne, tosses me one last self-satisfied glance, and leaps off the roof. He didn't even kill him. And leaps off the roof with him over his shoulder. By the time I reach the edge, Thomas is halfway down the building facade, fingers digging into the stone as if it were nothing. Etienne's limp body swings with each rapid movement. A second later, Thomas throws Etienne into the waiting car and gets in, while I sprint down the entire opera house, cursing silently. What a nightmare of a night. Return to the ministry. I should have followed the freaking woman. He should have died. Ugh. Doop doop doop. Do. High on the emotions simmering beneath my skin, I barely remember the journey between the opera and my destination. All I know is that I blinked and now stand before the door to Salle de lorerich, and I am ready for whatever may come. Step inside. I've noticed the guards stiffen the moment they heard my steps. They don't wait for an order. The door swings open as if on its own panic. I cross the threshold already burning with the urge to tear into Thomas for stealing the moment that should have been mine, and I'm too late. Lucinda stands still. Well, Judiciary Lucinda stands still, pensively regarding the statue of France above the unlit fireplace, as if she's conducting a silent judgment over the lifeless figure. At her feet lies the paralyzed body of Etienne, deposited there with no unnecessary caution by Thomas. who tosses me a self-satisfied smirk over his shoulder before addressing Lucinda. Here's your bounty, Lucinda. My jaw tightens. I can feel myself bristle at his tone, but bite my tongue silent. This time, Thomas will be the one the judiciary looks at when it matters, and there is nothing to be done but loathe myself for much it cost me. Along the wall stand 3 archons, Dr. Morgan, Tamamo, and Juan. The last one catches my eye from across the room. His mouth forms a silent question. What happened? A hunt gone wrong. I look away, but I'm tempted to answer. Suddenly, everyone has something good to say about Thomas. Tamamo. Oh, look at him. You weren't just a boring little doggy after all, weren't you? You had teeth. Dr. Morgan. Efficient work, minimal complications. Your direct approach proved effective. A pleasant surprise. A moment of silence stretches, then Lucinda turns slowly, as if returning from somewhere far, far away. Her eyes flick to Etienne, then to me, and only then to Thomas, the order itself, a judgment. Assess the situation. Something in that stillness makes my back tighten on instinct, and even Thomas, usually all posture and puff, shrinks a fraction under her gaze. Oh, she's pretty. Lucinda, indeed. And what about the... Judging by your blasé demeanor, insignificant matter of the attention you drew to us. Thomas's expression falters. He manages not to wilt, but the anger that flashes across his face has nowhere safe to go. I wouldn't say. Lucinda raised hand silences him in an instinct, and even I felt the sting of the venomous words that follow. Spare me. Thomas seems slightly taken aback. He looks confused, then foolishly tries again, but instead of the usual ice, a flash of fire illuminates her eyes. Flames of white and blue dance, then extinguish. And in my heart of hearts, I know this is what hellfire looks like when one faces oblivion. That's enough. The words, they straighten my spine before I can stop it. Thomas fares worse, gone rigid in a way that makes his false confidence show at the seams. He throws me a look, something between spite and a plea, and stays rooted where he is. Unwilling to expose more weakness by fumbling with Etienne's chest in front of her. Fine. I step forward and remove the stick myself. No ceremony. And before Etienne can do something rash and idiotic, Lucinda's high-heeled foot lands on his chest like a manacle. She regards him with the same interest and intensity someone might look at the moth pinned to a picture frame with its wings still fluttering. Etienne de Abingeni, by the power vested in me by the Ivory Tower, I hereby accuse you of high treason, squandering official resources, and sedition. Are you aware of your sins? Ivory Tower. Oh wait, Judiciary for Unlife. One of the most formidable members of Clan Ventru, Lucinda serves as the current Judiciary for Unlife and a red Alistair of the Camarilla. She is one of the elite few embraced with the singular purpose of serving her clan and its judiciaries. People lower their voices around her without realizing they've done it. It isn't intimidation. Not exactly. It's an adjustment. The way one instinctively moderates oneself in the presence of something structurally superior. She does not need to remind anyone that she is the Judiciary of Unlife. The rule remembers for her. The Camarilla remembers, the Red List remembers, and so do I. We share a clan. The thought should feel like solidarity. It feels like a standard I am still trying to grow into. She carries the tower as if it were a natural extension of her spine. She is not burdened by it, but defined by it, simply aligned. I have watched her pass sentence without raising her voice, watched elders defer without protest. Watch men who consider themselves apex predators reduce themselves to carefully phrasing around the weight of her gaze. She does not dominate through force. She defines the frame in which everything else moves. There is something almost cruel in how effortlessly she inhabits authority. Others posture, others perform. Lucinda does neither. She speaks, and outcomes reorganize around her. When she looks at me, It's never indulgent, never warm, and yet I find myself wanting that look to linger, to sharpen, to approve. I tell myself it's ambition. It is natural to aspire upward, natural to admire the first Alistair, the hunt who made monsters into quarry, natural to want to be seen by someone who has dedicated centuries to refining what it means to been true, natural. Sixth generation. And yet I am aware, painfully aware, that when she steps closer, when she says my name, when she places something in my hand as though entrusting me with a fragment of her will, there is a flicker beneath the discipline. I do not need her kindness. Her expectation is enough. If I stand straighter when she enters the room, it is because excellence demands posture. If my gaze follows her a second longer than necessary, it is because leadership should be studied. If the thought of disappointing her unsettled me more than I thought of final death, that is simply loyalty, nothing more. That was freaking cool. Next is the Ivory something. Masquerade, raid, traditions, clan, presence, praxis, clan. Huh. Okay. Choices, you mean? His voice lands softer than expected, as if he were speaking to someone he once trusted. Something shifts in the room the moment he looks at her. A small, sharp tightening in the air, like two magnets forced to close. I've seen her pass the judgments on dozens of kindred, but this is the first time her stillness feels sharpened. The stillness between them is wrong. Not hierarchy, something older. Those two people with unfinished history. Okay. Something neither of them cares to articulate in front of witnesses. I see. Then reasoning with you will be a waste of time. No change in her tone, but she does break eye contact first. I expect her to deal him his final death there and then, but Lucinda surprises me, as she often does. She removes her foot from Etienne's throat and motions for him to get up, which he does warily and stiffly. We will speak in my office. Speak. Do not insult me, Lucinda. I know well there's no conversing with you. Bitterness like hurt hopes. I find myself caught between appalled at his tone and words and surprised by the pure resignation visible in his slouched shoulders and downturned mouth. To be frank, I know more of Etienne than I know Etienne. His reputation is resilience, not audacity, and yet he is just beginning. For all your talk of modernity, Lucinda, you're the most rigid creature I've ever known. His voice, calm as it was, vibrates with a tone as sharp as his words. Well, allow me to enlighten you then. The anarchs are right. If we as a species stay as stubbornly set in the past as our beloved Ivory Tower wants us to stay, we'd go extinct. What is the Ivory Tower? Anarchs, Camarilla, Elysium, Embrace. Yeah. And she doesn't speak. My eyes dart between the passionate Etienne and the passive Lucinda. Why is she still allowing him to talk? The time I spent in Berlin opened my eyes to the truth. We need to change and adapt to survive, just like any other species. And since the anarchs are the only ones doing just that, they're our sole chance in these dark nights of unimaginable terrors that give pause even to us. That was quite a monologue there, Etienne. Are you done? Her words are flat, tinged with boredom. Her face and posture stay dispassionate. The atmosphere in the room could be cut with a blade. A shadow of sadness passes over Etienne's face. When he speaks, there are less bite to his words and even a hint of plea. We change or we die, and you can't stand hearing that, least of all from me. There, he says me, like it's a specific memory, a place and time. Oh, I don't want to look at Lucinda. Look at the archons. I looked to the archons for some sign that this exchange makes sense to someone besides Lucinde and Etienne. Juan's easy posture has gone still against the stone column. Tamamo's face remains serenely unreadable, and Dr. Morgan's attention never leaves Lucinde for even a second. Look at Thomas. I glance at Thomas. He's already looking at me. We both have the same question written in our gaze. What the hell is happening? Let's look at Etienne. Etienne's eyes are both empty and full of feeling, grief, resignation, serenity, all there at once. I'm certain Lucinde sees it too. Let's look at I didn't want to look at her last. Lucinda's expression doesn't change, but something in the room tightens like a vice. Her glacier eyes flash with something much more primal and older than anger. Whatever Etienne is to her, he is something. I have served her for 35 years and never once made her go that still. Move on. The conversation continues through a few beats of silence before becoming verbal again. I can't help but feel like they've skipped a couple of lines in this play of theirs. You had a choice. So did you. She scoffs. He shakes his head. When he keeps going, his voice is quieter than before, almost intimate. You sent me to Berlin to text me. Don't dress it as faith. Now you'll do for me what you did for Darren's predecessor. Tidy. Move on. Lucinde doesn't respond to that. Why did you take me, Lucinde? I have watched her answer harder questions in front of larger rooms. I have never watched her answer this time. Etienne waits, and so do I, against my better judgment. Then he turns his head to me. I feel the inside of my own skull turn to a room someone just walked into without knocking. That particular pressure behind the eyes, that unwelcome attention sitting where attention should not be allowed. I know this trick. I know its name. He is using it on me. The bastard is reading me. Let him. I keep my silence. All of it is performance, and he knows it is performance, and he has let me know that he knows. Etienne sees it instantly. Worse, Lucinde sees that he saw it. You could drag the moon from the sky and lay it at her feet, and it still would not be enough. The air swishes, and a thin cut appears on Etienne's cheek. A trickle of blood leaves behind only a faint trace across his skin. He turns back to her, but he does not press her. He lets her stand in the silence she made for one more beat. Lucinde's hands moves again, a blur of white silk. Another line opens across his chest, this one deeper. The fabric of his expensive suit parts like a stage curtain. Again, a gash appears on his forearm, tearing through sleeve and skin. To my surprise, clots of vitae, dark and viscous, pull themselves from the wound and plop into the polished floor. His shoulders go slack. He is not paralyzed by the stake anymore. He is paralyzed by her. He stands there, being unmade inch by inch, a sculpture being systematically defaced by its creator, and she does not stop. The hand underneath is not the hand I know. I have seen Lucinde's hands before, steady, pale, precise. These are something else. The fingers has edges where fingers should not have edges. Each one tapered to a line so fine it catches the chandelier's light a blade would. She came into this room with her hands already prepared. This was not impulse. She sharpened herself for him before the evening began. The hand finds him before her grip does. 4 lines down his face, through the cheekbone, through the jaw, through the mouth, then the chest, then his arms, the ones that should not be moving but somehow are, half instinct, half memory. Each cut is fast. Each one opens him to the bone. She is not killing him with these, she is marking him. Do you recognize it, Etienne? Etienne, the hand entrusted with destroying monsters too dangerous to remain within our history. Look at it carefully. I would have you understand exactly what you became. Lucinde steps closer. Her hand closes on his throat. She wants the bone under her fingers. She wants to feel it give. You used to like the rain. I never told anyone. Etienne's skin parts under her grip all at once. Her fingers find the spine. His head come off in her hands. The force of the tear sends what remains inside him across Lucinda in the fine dark droplets. They scatter over her sleeve, across her cheekbone, down the line of her jaw. The body falls to the hardwood floor, hollow thud beside it. The head, she keeps it for 2 seconds longer than she should, looking at it. Then she drops that too. Nobody moves. She is at peace again, and that is the most disturbing thing in the room. Why? We captured him in one piece, and Lucinda extracted nothing. The guards shuffle forward to dispose of the body, which has already started rapidly turning to ash. No intel, no leverage. I care for the theatrics as much as anyone, but who was this show even for? I catch myself doing what I always do, searching her face for what she wants, so I might be the one to give it. Without looking at us, Lucinda walks past the guards, past the archons, past Thomas, past me, towards the door to her office. Thomas and I exchange a glance. Neither of us say what we are thinking. Enter the office. I wish we had a choice to go somewhere else. Lucinda's office is decorated with exquisite taste, and it's the opposite of inviting. Everything is arranged with a precision that leaves no room for comfort. In Paris, no one stands above Lucinda. The cuff is still dark with him. The line of her jaw still carries a smudge she has not wiped, or has wiped and missed. One glove, the white one, is gone. The hands underneath has not been clean in centuries. No one will mention it. Wait, what? She hands the heavy desk and ensconces herself in the luxurious chair. Thomas and I remain standing on the Persian rug, positioned exactly where she wants us. She brings her hands together, fingertips touching, and regards us coldly. I cannot stand any straighter. I fervently wish I could. It is a shame. We have all been subjected to a rambling of a disturbed man tonight. Both Thomas and I know an order when we see one. Stay silent. Words of curiosity fight to crawl their way out of my throat, but I keep them to myself. Not the time, not the place, but I do so very much wish we had at least gathered the intelligence he possessed. Now tell me, did he say anything about Berlin at the opera? Thomas and I exchange a glance. We haven't exactly had the time to chat with our Mark. I see. She leans back slightly. If she wanted to know, she shouldn't have killed them. At least not so quickly. She leaned back slightly, not relaxing, just shifting into the briefing mode. We have been receiving some troubling news from Berlin for quite some time. When Prince Wolof fell, the city fractured. Several anarchs' gains filled the vacuum, none disciplined enough to establish last rules. Now the leader of one of them, by the name of Danielle Darren, has rather suddenly risen to power and proclaimed herself a baron. As you might imagine, her uniting a good half of Berlin under her banner poses as dangerous precedent for us. What is the freaking blood? Ken Masquerade. Camarilla Prince. Wait for her to finish. Our intelligence suggests that there is still some opposition in the city refusing to bend the knee to her, consistently maintaining of the remaining gangs. However, the notion that there might exist a united anarch here in Europe needs to be eradicated swiftly, decisively, and once and for all. She pauses, waiting, expecting for a nod. Satisfied, she continues. Etienne was. She recovers before anyone but me would notice. Sent to observe and undermine, while his early reports provided indeed rather invaluable information. For reasons unknown and no doubt insane, later on, he entered into alliance with the self-proclaimed Baron herself. The phrasing is careful. She is shaping something she wants us to repeat. His execution was I don't trust this. His execution was an appropriate punishment. It did not solve the problem, however. Berlin cannot be allowed to unite. The chaos in the city and its never-ending shifts suits us almost as much as if we acclaim Berlin for ourselves. It sends the correct message. The anarch's movement is dangerous even to those who claim to profit from it. Only the Ivory Tower brings safety and peace. Remain silent. There is no need to verbally agree, nor does she expect it. Her words carry the obvious truth. Silence falls in the room, interrupted by the soft, muffled noise of Paris at night, seeping in through the high windows. Lucinda rests her chin upon her steepled fingers, regarding us both with inquisitive eyes, but a carefully blank face. In your personal opinion, how should Berlin be handled, and Danielle Darren in particular? The question hangs in the air. The echo of what we all just witnessed hangs with it. I see Etienne's last words again. His hand at her side bare. Her hand at her side bare. The look he gave me before he turned his head back to her. Enough ambiguity to make me pause. Thomas moved before I could shape my answer, stepping into the space I've left unguarded. It's less than a few seconds, but hesitation never needs more. Thomas moves before I can shape my answer. His shoulders snap taut, stepping into the space. Oh, come on. Force. Berlin needs force, not subtlety. Darren most of all. The moment Lucinda does not interrupt him. She watches, not him, me. Her gaze settles on me with a silent, meticulous awareness she has, the kind that keeps track of who held back too long and who hesitated. Alice? Hesitation has a price, and she is still weighing it. I forced my mind back to the question, Darren, Berlin. Speak plainly. The hesitation is gone by the time I speak. I don't bother softening the answer. Clarity is safer than caution. Here now, with Lucinda watching. If Berlin unites, it becomes untouchable. If it fractures, we own every piece that falls. Thomas shoots me a look, offended by the bluntness or by the confidence. Either suits him. The anarchs mistake validity with strength. It is a pressure point, visible, exposed, easy to exploit. We don't attack Darren's center. We make the center irrelevant. Push the right doubts, the right contradictions. Let her alliance rot from the insecurities of her very allies. And when the fracture spreads, we step in as the only stable alternative, not conquerors. I look at Thomas with an unconcealed expression of triumph, but an inevitability. Thomas reacts. He steps forward too quickly. This is oversimplified. Berlin isn't a puzzle box you can open with semantics. The stumble is small. Let Lucinda's eyes registers it. This is my moment. Needle him. May I enlighten you to the fact that not everything has to be needlessly complicated. And that's coming from me. He ignores me and pushes on, trying to recover momentum. Force is clarity. Violence is language. Theron's people don't follow orders. They follow strength. He looks to Lucinda, hoping for something from her, a nod, a flinker, anything. I feel bad for him. I can see the pressure building under his skin. He pivots towards me, but looks straight at Lucinda. Her plan sounds doable, sure, but it depends on variables we can't rely on. We need outcomes, not theories. The argument falls flat. I know he feels it. Lucinda does too. I don't bother hiding the slight curve at the corner of my mouth. Discredit him. And I suppose you can guarantee a solid outcome. I can not with my mere theory. I would call you optimistic, but that seems insulting to the utter naivety you're displaying. The words hit him harder than any critique Lucinda could have given. His eyes flare, first with humiliation, then with something beyond fury. He lunges, telegraphed by every ounce of wounded pride in his body. I don't step away. The blow never reaches me. Enough. Her voice reverberates throughout the room, and all the crystals in the chandeliers, the glass in the window panes, even the numerous light bulbs vibrate along with it. Just that one word, amplified by nothing but the sheer force of authority so absolute it swallows the whole room. Thomas retreats a half step, as if physically pulled back to the gravity by the gravity of her voice. Shame and rage fights on his face. Neither wins cleanly. You both make adequate points. It isn't praise. Her gaze moves between us, slow and precise, weighing whatever she's written down in that immaculate ledger inside her mind. Very well. Thomas? Cold, bitter disappointment bursts in my throat, and I fight a grimace until she continues. You will remain in Paris. The choked sound of his ambition collapsing in on itself. It's music to my ears. Lucinda offers no comfort, no explanation. She moves on. Alice, you will travel to Berlin. Prevent the city from uniting under Daniel Duran. Use whatever methods you deem effective so long as they serve the tower. Keeping my face perfectly blank, I squash down the giddiness bubbling in my chest. Make it short. Understood, Judiciary. I'm not promising her. Lucinda pauses, observing me thoughtfully with those unblinking eyes. Provided you succeed is a timely manner. I shall consider bestowing upon you the title of my archon. I don't trust her. The room tenses, or maybe it's just Thomas. Her? You chose her over me? The mere fact that you need to ask is enough of an answer. He stares at her, fist trembling, jaw clenched hard enough to shatter his teeth. For a moment, I have the gleeful thought that he is going to lunge at Lucinda, or perhaps stomp off and be put in his place, but alas, he manages to keep himself in check. Lucinda regards him calmly before finally turning her attention back to me. I feel myself sway forward eagerly, and a ghost of a smile across my face. I feel like she only really likes Alice because she knows how obsessed, right? Because it's more of an obsession, it seems like, how obsessed Alice is for. And Thomas is all over the place. He has anger issues. He's insecure. But I think he has a better idea of self-ish. I don't know about it, but I don't think he's like a lost puppy. Man. But she's also a puppy, just not an angry one. It's like he's an angry puppy and she's like a yearning puppy. But they both want the same thing. You shall depart at once. Let's negotiate. Of course, Judiciary, right after I lose my words mid-sentence after the slight grimace on her face. At once means immediately, Alice. I do hope there is no need for me to explain such trivialities. I shake my head, chastised, just Judiciary. One last thing before you go. In one elegant motion, she takes the signet ring off her finger, placing it gently in my outstretched hand. There's a streak of Etienne's vitae along the band. She has not wiped it. Beside me, Thomas's teeth audibly crack from how hard he's grinding them. This ring is a red mandate, proof to any and all Camarilla that you are acting under my patronage and an extension of my authority. Be as I am with my enemies, Alice. The ring is small and heavier than it should be. It will fit perfectly on my finger, not because it was made for me, because I made myself for it. Every decade of service, every assignment completed without question, every time I chose the tower over my own instinct, all of it led here. I can't wait to slip it on, but such eagerness would surely be deemed distasteful. Save it for the right moment. Well, you know what? Nope, save it for the right moment. I close my fingers around the ring, not yet. Letting Thomas see me reach for it will tell them too much. The ring goes into my pocket where its weight settles against my hip like a promise. It won't extend to the anarch. Dealing with them is a part of your quest. You may go. Thomas will stay a little longer. Say nothing. I incline my head in silence, a clean obedience Lucinda expects, but I do hope it doubles as disrespect. Something Thomas can feel searing into his skin. She spares me no glance, peering straight at Thomas. Leave now, Alice. Her dismissal freezes me to the core. I nod stiffly once more and turns around to leave. I guess that's her with her hair down. But before I close the door behind me, I chance one more glance at her. Her eyes are slightly thawed, looking straight at Thomas. I can't help but feel the bitter pang of jealousy. He's done nothing to deserve such grace. Leave the ministry. The cabin stills when I step inside. A compact pressurized space wrapped in leather still in dim light. Pared down to the functionality, nothing warm enough to call welcome. The engines are already running at idle. I can feel them more than hear them, a low mechanical pulse running through the floor. The unmistakable sign the aircraft is awake but waiting. Before I step further, a movement catches in the corner of my eye. There you are. Berlin, huh? Oh, Juan. You nearly boarded without saying goodbye. Relief flashes across Juan's face when he sees me. Something in my shoulders loosens before I can stop it. I wasn't aware I owed you one. You don't. I still wanted it, and I'm glad I caught you before takeoff. You sound nervous. Berlin is not Paris. The moment Lucinda's name enters a room there, everybody starts calculating how much blood may follow. Is that your version of encouragement? You were never sent because it would be easy. This mission matters more than you think. Lucinda doesn't send future archons for errands, and she certainly doesn't keep them this close until they matter to her. Alice, admiration is useful. Obsession is not. Juan noticed, of course. He notices everything. You sound like you're giving me advice. Thomas's fixation on proving himself to her already made him reckless. I'd rather not watch history repeat itself with someone smarter. I expect you to be back beside us soon enough. Behind him, the door is still shut with a hydraulic lock and cuts off the outside noise, but remains in the low hum of turbines, the distant whir of ventilation, and the faint beats of pre-flight systems cycling through their cheeks. I've heard about Lucinda's archives, but it's the first time I'm meeting one in person. It is harder to be in a room with one than the rumors prepared me for. And they say we're the monsters. Ahead, the living archives sit in the forward seat. She isn't strapped in. Strapped in is even the wrong word. She doesn't look secured as much as installed. Her back doesn't touch the seat. Her posture holds itself. Hands folded neatly in her lap. The white band across her eyes catches a sliver of the cabin light and reflects it without texture, without life. She speaks before I can take another step. The living archives. Miss Lightington. Calm. She turns her head towards me, but a few precise degrees. The blindfold doesn't shift, but I feel the weight of her attention all the same. Please tell me I can figure out what that is. Oh, this your kind. Sure. Nope. Your gait is distinctive. A slight shift under my feet tells me the jet has just begun taxing. The engine's hum deepens. Question the level of analysis. You can identify operatives by that alone? The borders are invasive and it sounds like charlatanism. Her chin lifts by a fraction, the shift of a device adjusting focus, stride length, limb symmetry, habitual corrections, and residual tensions patterns in the shoulders. Like she's answering my irritation with pure indifferent analysis. Your movement profile belongs to a narrow behavioral class. Recognition requires no efforts. Please have a seat. Her tone is procedural. Her spine grows rigid before I can stop. My spine goes rigid before I can stop it. I take the seat opposite her. A question forms on my lips, but she continues, unblinking behind the band. Lady Judiciary Lucinde would not deploy any operative to Berlin whose behavior metrics were unknown. Your pattern were documented months ago. Documented months ago? My behavior metrics? Ask directly. You've analyzed me. Your movement, tone ratios, stress responses, and micro delays. Standard procedures. False neutral vocal modulations. Predictable ego spikes when confronted by authority. The file supplies what I cannot see myself. The left hand twitch suppressed when attention is directed at you. The fractional narrowing of the eyes when processing threat. I get it. Outside, the engine rises in pitch. The jet pushes harder up through the night. Lady Judiciary Lucinde expects precision, from you as well. The jet pitches slightly as the nose lifts higher, the engine settling into a smooth, unbroken drone. I can use this time to question the living archon further or to sort through what she's already said. Ask about Etienne. Tell me about Etienne. Everything relevant. Etienne Torador, former Camarilla agent, assigned to Berlin for embedded intelligence gathering and controlled destabilization of Anarch structures from within. He volunteered. Records indicate he viewed the assignment as an opportunity to regain favor within the tower. Sounds just like Etienne, desperate enough to call a punishment an opportunity. His behavioral history contains consistent markers, dependency on authority, a strong need for validation. Oh, interesting. His loyalty record is long. Its foundation and reasoning were unstable. Initial infiltration was successful. He established contact with Danielle Darren early. Contact became access quickly. Too quickly. Correct. Behavioral drift forward. Report tone shifted. Indicators of disillusionment increased over time. Disillusionment. In Berlin, that actually makes sense. He began transferring intelligence to the other side. He obstructed Camarilla operations. He affirmed intelligence through Darren verbally and repeatedly. Recordings exist. He knew exactly what he was doing. But how does a man nurtured by the most organized and influential sect of our kind decide that Anarch's chaos offers him something more? Evidence suggests emotional motives, not strategic alignment. Directed at whom? His file shows decades of direct oversight by Judiciary Lucinde. He sought her approval constantly. The loss of said approval aligns with this behavioral shift. He just didn't betray a tower. He betrayed her. Expecting unwavering loyalty from a Torrendor was always been an exquisite exercise in wishful thinking, a triumph of hope over centuries of evidence. And her first reaction? No records available. Final behavior profile? Fatalistic resolve. Objectives? To generate value for the Anarchs through a symbiotic death. His decision to return to Paris was consistent with his objective. The mode of death may have been his choice. The Camarilla provided the stage. Etienne wasn't stupid. He knew exactly what a return to Paris meant. He walked into the city like someone already certain of the ending. He didn't struggle in the audience hall. No escape attempt, no theatrics, no last-minute plea, just acceptance. Every word he spoke at the end was rehearsed for someone in that room with a crack in their loyalty. Maybe Thomas, maybe me. Ask about Berlin Camarilla. Who remains at the Camarilla in Berlin? Maxwell Blaska? Tremere. 7th generation, regent of the Berlin. Chantry of the facto coordinator of the Camarilla remnant in the city. Born in Vienna in the early 15th century, he served as a ghoul before his embrace in 1822 by Karl Skrucket, a Tremere elder. Statistically, embraces by elders of Skrit rank correlate with high tolerance for hierarchical constraint and long-term operational discipline. Ghoul. From the moment a mortal drinks enough vitae of a vampire, they become a ghoul, starting a process that simultaneously makes them more or less than what they originally were. They usually exist on the outer fringes of kindred society, but play important roles as daytime informants and connections to the modern human world. They all handle their new realities in between the Martyr Society and Kindred Society in different ways as they labor under their addiction for vitae. Long apprenticeship in the Order of Hermes before subordination into Clan Tremere. Loyalty rewarded with embrace. Recorded ambition, aspirations to higher station. After Ventru control collapse, Leska accepted Abraham Wolf, Malkavian, as prince. He valued Wolf's ability to keep Anarch influence constricted. Following Wolf's death to Anarch violence, Leska assumed leadership of the remaining Camarilla infrastructure and prioritized Tremere's interest over sect-wide restoration. Self-professed traditionalist, motto recorded, "I live to serve, I serve to live." How will he read my arrival? As a as a jurisdictional intrusion. Constraint acknowledgments. Lusko will not violate the traditions in open conflict, but he is likely to obstruct indirectly, define indirectly. Attempt to degrade your operational freedom without explicit breach of protocol. So he'll try to make me stumble while pretending to hold the door. What does he respond to? Hierarchy. Documented prerogative and clear utility. He despises improvisation unless it originates from him. Direct humiliation is I don't want to look at it till I meet him, so I can see his picture. Direct humiliation is counterproductive, precise. Public alignment of his goals with yours is more effective. What about Berlin? Give me the broad picture, Berlin as it is, not the sanctified version. The living archive's posture shifts by a degree, as if this request activated a deeper dataset. Berlin is a fractured domain with no dominant authority structure. The collapse began with the final death of Prince Abraham Wolf in 2017. Historically, Berlin was a Ventru stronghold for centuries. From Ilse Reniger in the Middle Ages to Gustav Briendestein after and later Wilhelm Welberg, the city stood as the object lesson in Camarilla stability. After the Second World War, East Berlin remained under Bridenstine. West Berlin fell to Walberg, two princes, two courts, two interpretations of the same tradition staring at each other across the wall. Kindred there learned to treat divisions as normal long before the kin did. The kin. For mortals, okay. Reunification merged the courts under Prince Walberg for a time. Order returned with it. She pauses, the end of one data set and the start of another. But the stability was superficial. The political fractures beneath it remained untreated. After Walberg's withdrawal from Praxis, Abraham Wolf assumed Prickstum, a transfer of power that manifested appearances more than it resolved tensions. Years later, Wolf met his final death, assaulted in his own stronghold, with his court shattered and Anarch's aggression escalating. The Camarilla's hold collapsed entirely. The Anarchs proved that adaptation have not been enough. Berlin slipped out of the tyrant's control in a matter of nights. So who controls what's left? Who holds territory and infrastructure now? Berlin's model landscape is compartmentalized. Turkish networks in Kreuzberg and Nicola, Vietnamese in Luxembourg, neo-nationalist cells in the outer east. Each of these can hide anarchs, feed them, or be weaponized by them. None are loyal, all are potentially useful. In addition, there are independent gangs without a clear ideological identity. Squad collectives, art terrorists. Their loyalty are transactional. Their memories of the Camarilla rule are not favorable. And all of this is in one city. One city that has the capital of Germany, a media hub. If the Anarchs unify it under a barren long term, they gain more than territory. And Anarch's Berlin sent a message. The Camarilla cannot reclaim its oldest trophies. Princes can fall and stay fallen. An order is optional. She folds her hands again in her lap. Oh my God. This is a lot of information with these questions. If that belief spreads, it will not remain contained within Germany. Ask about Daron. Tell me about Danielle Daron, the real version, not the Anarch myth. Danielle Daron, Gangrel. The clan of the beasts, animals, sparrows, barbarians, outcasts, wolves, strays. Often closer to the beast than other vampires, and so the Gangrel styles themselves apex predators. These pharaohs prowl the wilds as easily as the urban jungle, and no clan of vampires can match their ability to endure, survive, and thrive in an environment. Often fiercely territorial, their shapeshifting abilities can... Oh, shapeshifters. Even give the undead pause. Gangrel are usually embraced from prospects who show the ability to fight and to survive in fighters. Due to this, their customs encourage fights for dominance, but not the final death, as they push for a culture of healthy rivalry rather than taking a competition personally. They're actually the outcasts of Kindred society, learning to live in undesirable areas and yet thrive without bending the knee to a prince or baron. Gangrel tends to care less about appearances and status than they do about action and accomplishments. Interesting. Leader of the Black Rogues Collective. Her early history shows origins in rural France. Pre-embrace life, low status, high labor load, show familiarity with wilderness terrain. She was embraced by an unknown kindred after the destruction of her mortal community. She reappeared in Berlin decades later, building alliances with marginalized kindred and off-court structures. The Black Rose? Correct. A collective of outcasts and independent anarchs. Their primarily operational focus includes resistance against neo-nationalist groups in the eastern districts and law enforcement over specific migration-driven territories. Their ascent to the barony were incremental. She consolidated power through distinct level influence first. Her authority expanded quietly before becoming visible. She has imposed structure unusual for an anarch domain. Scheduled patrols, codified territory, cooperated response. Berlin under Darren operations was with cohesive atypical for decentralized cells. So she's a stabilizing force. For the anarchs, yes. Darren's ideology centers on internal reform of the anarch structure. She rejects external domination, but advocates for a unified governance within the movement. Some reports compare her behavioral adaptation to Toreador's influence, though her file remains Gangrel aligned. She has increased her influence among migrant groups and marginalized communities. That lines up with Grangeburg's, migrant networks, and anti-fascist crews gives her fast cover. Correct. Darren's long-term objective is unclear. However, she has demonstrated interest in formalizing Anarch's government. Unification under a baron is consistent with her behavioral patterns. If completed, the outcome is strategically unfavorable for the Camarilla. That's the polite tower term for catastrophic. And her attitude towards us, consistent with her history. Resilient, pragmatic, and willing to negotiate only when leverage favors her. She considers Camarilla intervention synonymous with authoritarian collapse. Okay? Her stated position. Berlin will not fall to the tower again while she exists. Thank you. A silence settles between us. There's nothing left to question, only what comes next. I lean back, watching the blur of clouds swallow the window, and let the pierces rearrange themselves in my head. Berlin is a city of strays, schemers, and ghosts. People who shed identities the very snake sheds skin. That's where I'm expected to disappear. If I walk in as myself, Alice Lyttelton, the tower's polished, well-documented protege, I'll stand out like a torch in a blackout. The conclusion is utterly and simple. I can arrive as I am. There is a time to fabricate a new past from nothing. To mint documents and plan a history, I need to work with what's already mine. My past, trimmed where it helps, angled where it must be, left raw where it convinces. I can come as someone running from a debt, a mistake, a city that spat me out, and one more tense shape in a place that feeds on escape. Or I can come as someone drifting, passing through because Berlin is convenient and anonymous. No roots, no loyalties, nothing for someone to dig up. Ooh. The red mandate is a symbol of Lucinda's authority. Any camarilla kindred who recognizes it understands its bearer acts under the judiciary's patronage. Among the anarchs, the mandate inspires suspicion instead of obedience, making a false identity safer than relying on Lucinda's skill. So choose our mask. You can choose strength or diplomacy. So the executioner. Cover. A former scourge blamed for an execution that became politically inconvenient. The sheriff of the night giving the order once the fallout threatened the court. You fled before the court could offer you up to save its position. Truth. You truly serve as the scourge, but left after the prince's politics. Through the dustborn grew too linear for your taste. How the others see you. A dangerous weapon abandoned by your own sect. Some see it as a useful muscle with a reason to hate the tower. Others see a fanatic, one bad night away from another massacre. Purpose of the mask. A former scourge understands how to protect strength and control through fear, making this cover useful in hostile encounters and intimidations. The Keeper of Elysium. The Peacemaker. Focused diplomacy. The cover. A former Keeper of Elysium forced out after a violent change in power. The new prince filled Elysium with loyalties and treated neutrality as a threat instead of a tradition. The truth. You only serve as a Keeper of Elysium. Your talents for diplomacy and resolving conflicts eventually grew Lucinda's attention and carved you a higher place within the tower. How others see you. A skilled negotiator displaced by the court's politics. Some see a trustworthy mediator. Others see Camarillo's loyalists searching for a way back into the tower's favor. Purpose. A former keeper understands that the value of neutrality, making this cover useful in negotiations and politically sensitive situations. Interesting. Let's do the skirt. A gentle ding in the background. We have arrived. The descent is gentle, a tilt, a hush. Lights rising across the clouds. We touch down, a short shiver running through the cabin. The night outside turns clear and ordinary again. Only now do I register the two mortals in the far corner of the cabin. They've been silent the entire flight, folded into the upholstery like part of a decor. Chosen last minute clearly. Wrong clothing, wrong posture, wrong everything for a Ventru jet. The mortals don't dare breathe too loudly. They know better, and it isn't restraint alone that keeps me from feeding. It is the curse in the blood. Theirs is wrong for me, wrong scent, wrong taste, wrong everything. The curse permits me one vessel alone, a woman who bore a child, and neither of these two has. A Ventru doesn't force a meal. Huh? We stop at a remote island. I have no idea what that means. The door unseals itself with a practiced sigh, and the smell of fuel and damp concrete moves through the aisle. The stairs touch the concrete. Ground crews appear and vanish at the edge of vision. The living archive doesn't offer a farewell. I rise, the red mandate, a measure weight in my pocket, and step into the white darkness. A black car is waiting for me. A figure in a long coat moves from the shadows, opens the door with a practiced wordless motion, then blends into the darkness around. The driver's hand sits on the wheel, gloved, steady. He doesn't look up. I slide in, wipers lift, fall. Berlin waits, restless and listening. Drive off. Oh, I thought that would have been the end of the demo. The car pulls away from the airport like a bullet through rain. Under a sky drowned in storm dark, the engine hums with the soft assurance of German engineering. Rain drifts in long diagonal lines across the windshield, catching the pale orange glare of the terminal's light before dissolving into darkness. I lean back and let the rhythm of the rain decide how fast I'm allowed to think. Look at your reflection. I draw a fingertip through the blur on the window and watch it part cleanly, leaving a sharp line through the haze. I find it almost inevitable how easy the windows distort what it sees, how effortlessly it hides the truth. My reflection in the glass looks detached, almost spectral. Spectral. The pale oval of my face framed by streaks of light that twist and pulse like arteries. I wonder briefly how many eyes in the city are already watching my arrival. How many unseen observers, mortals, kindred, something in between, having already made note of the black car leaving the airport. Look around the car. The air smells of worn metal, thick with the ghost of someone else's perfume. Air drifts from the vent in uneven bursts, close, almost intimate, in the small cabin. The window fogs from the driver's breath and the heat trapped inside. The condensation gathers in soft pulses across the glass. I'm not used to spaces like this. There is no insulation against the outside world, beyond what is strictly necessary. No separation between driver and passenger. This sort of vehicle is meant for any condition, built to endure weather and travel, to disappear in the streets rather than stand out. Watch the city. I watch the city emerge from behind the airport perimeter like a creature waking from a hibernation. What begins as an open highway mutates into the slow sprawls of street that seems to pulse in rhythm with the rain. Headlights glide across metal glass puddles. Even reflections folding into another until everything looks alive, focused on the road ahead. Berlin speaks in layers, one human, one not. Neon signs stutter. A billboard flickers with fragments of color, red, white, then black. A perfume billboard, for height is Lexus, blinks through static, its mottled eyes slash red with spread paint. Kind cognate, kind trump, no king, no tower. A few blocks later, a poster for housing protest peels from a brick wall, and beneath it, in darker paint, someone has written a message of their own. We're Bruten Clanch. We bleed the same. Rain blurs the slogans together, one layer over another. They become difficult to tell apart. People walk fast, head down, coats drawn tight. No one looks up. The city moves, but no one seems to arrive anywhere. The chaos has hierarchy. The rush of passing cars, the drone of trams, the distant sirens, the hollow thud of clubs bass bleeding through the industrial fog merge into a language I don't understand yet. But I recognize the rhythm. I felt it before. A city bracing for something, except this one feels different, hungrier. The driver's hands are steady on the wheel, too steady. I've seen that kind of discipline before. Ghouls learn to move exactly the way they're taught. He catches my gaze in the mirror and registers me the way trained men do. I expect tension, perhaps even groveling, but what I find in his eyes is an irrelevant glint of curiosity. How are you finding the city so far? It's different from Paris. Less concerned with being admired, more interesting in surviving itself. He exhales through his nose, not quite a laugh. That's one way to put it. Everyone in this city is hiding something, even the streets. It's a game. It's a puzzle. but I'm not sure if the one who solves it will come out on top. Is he trying to warn me off? That's almost funny. The windshield wipers slice through the rain. They brought you here, haven't they? Those who called the shot? His hands tighten on the wheel. Leather creak. He's holding something back. As you put it yourself, they call the shots. It doesn't concern you. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. It always starts like that, though. Grand promises of order, but the mess down here in the gutters looks awfully familiar. He glances at me again in the rearview mirror, a beat too long. Long enough to say he knows what I am. Just the category. One of them. No matter who his master might be, he is still tissue and bone of the city. I hold his gaze. He's angry. He's tired of it. He thinks I couldn't possibly understand. Then I look away. I despise incompetence too, though he would never know it. His feelings are about as relevant as a crushed can beneath our tires. Changes in the air. Something is about to snap. You know the pullback of a whip right before it cracks? Feels like that. You sound like a man who picked You look like a man who picked his seat in haste of view. He almost smiles, dry, bitter, and proud of it. Not a single servant back in Paris would have dared. But then, I'm not in Paris anymore. You and I both know I didn't arrange the seating for this particular feast. He says it in an offhanded, relaxed manner, but I can read between the lines. He wants out, and knows he won't get far. The streets are narrow. Street lights pulse with wet stone. For a while, neither of us speak. Well, you said it yourself. The muscles along his neck pull taut, the tension climbing towards his shoulders. He keeps his eyes locked on the road as the anger finally pushes past whatever fear was holding it down. You people never think about the rest of us. You build your tower, destroy Haven, rip each other apart, call it balance, but someone has to drive you through the wreckage. Dangle a crumb of understanding before him. I should have put him in his place because of the mask I'm using. Someone's leash has too much slack, or perhaps too little. It's hard to tell which, but maybe I can use this man's anger. What would it take for you to believe it's worth it? He gives me a look, half reproach, half pride, a little calmer. This is my city. Do you have a place like that? Somewhere you've been born so many times you'll practically teeter to it? Where you just know that if you leave, you'll never rise again? We turn a corner. I study him in the mirror. The conviction behind the face, not the face itself. My expression softens, almost human. You want to protect it. Some of us are just tired of being collateral. Then you might want to be careful airing the sentiment around anyone else. His eyes widen just a fraction. He wasn't expecting a warning. He knows he won't get another. He stays quiet, and the silence between us is no longer taut with tension. The car slows to a halt by the curb. The Reiniger Hotel looms ahead, sealed off from the city, like a different species of predator. The car stops. Neither of us reaches for the handle. The driver doesn't turn to me, doesn't offer to help with the door. I feel the irritation spark. A lesser city, a different night, and I rip him out of his seat by the throat just to remind him how the order of things actually work. But on the first night of a mission, where restraint matters more than satisfaction, I force the impulse down and open the door myself. The air outside is colder and weirdly cleaner. The door closes, a muffled click swallowed by the rain. When I look up again, the car is already gone. Enter the hotel. The Reiniger Hotel feels like a monument built to deny the passage of time. Its marbled floors gleam under the soft gold of the chandelier light, every reflection captured and held as though the building refuses to let anything truly fade. The air is heavy, perfumed in an old way, beeswax, tobacco, and something floral that has long since lost its name. Controlled, faintly lifeless. Concentrate on the decor. I'll take a slow glance around. Marble, glass, brass, more marble, all polished to impossible perfection, all too empty to feel alive. The furnishings are rich but restrained. Nothing here is worn, and yet there is a sense that everything has been standing still for too long. the space that seems to wait for guests from a world that never returned. Good evening, Mrs. Lyttelton. The Reniger Hotel has been expecting you. Behind the reception desk, the concierge stands tall and composed. Remaining perfectly still, he could pass for part of the lobby itself. A large open ledger rests before him, and the fountain pen glints faintly in the light. Silver, perhaps platinum, too elegant to belong to the present. He finishes the line before setting the pen aside with a surgical precision. Only then does he lift his gaze. Act unsurprised. Naturally, Judicial Ascendate estate has no habit of leaving matters to chance. I allow my eyes to narrow a touch. It also has no habit of letting its tongue loose. The faintest trace of a smile crosses its lips, polite, almost apologetic. Berlin has a way of keeping track of his visitors, Miss Lyttelton. One simply learned to listen. A pause, deliberate enough to make me wonder whether he meant that as a joke. Of course, we value our guests' privacy above all, but discretion, like everything else, benefits from anticipation. He closes the ledger softly, resting a gloved hand on its cover. Nothing moves except for the faint shimmer of crystal pendants in the chandelier above. We have taken the liberty of preparing the same room once assigned by a Mr. Etienne d'Aubigny. I hope you will find it suitable. His name hits harder than it should. Berlin remembers him more than I do. Maybe. I'm not sure. Make it personal. You must be used to cleaning up after the dead. The lobby seems to hold my words for a moment, weighing them, before I force myself to stop at the edge. The concierge keeps his eyes on me, or perhaps I only imagine the reprimand in their stillness. Technically, Mrs. Lyttelton, we all do. Some are simply better at hiding the mess. Silence settles between us again. Would you acquire anything particular for your stay? Local contracts? Teleportation? A tour guide? I expect I shall require a driver. There's at least one place in this city I intend to visit. The request will be arranged by tomorrow night. He slides a brass key across the polished surface of the desk. It's a heavy, old-fashioned, engraved with the room number, a key meant to be felt in the hand, not forgotten in the pocket. How antiquated. Berlin has a way of changing its guests, Miss Lyttelton. The city rarely lets anyone leave quite as they arrived. His phrasing is careful and pointed. He named Etienne once. Everything since has been circling in the same spot. It doesn't apply to me. I suppose that applies only to those who don't know themselves coming here. I happen to know exactly who I am. And before he can so much as open his mouth, I speak up once more, unquestionably ending the conversation. I'll find the suite on my own. Just the simple truth. I'm in no mood for anyone trailing behind me or pretending at courtesy. He inclines his head, perfectly accepting the decision without hesitation. I take the key. As I turn away, the lobby returns to its apparent silence, my reflection gliding over marble, my steps echoing up the staircase. It feels like the lobby is watching me leave. At the desk, the concierge waits until I disappear from view. Then he picks up his pen again and writes something once more. This time smaller, neater, as if filling it where only he can ever look. Go to your suite. The staircase delivers me to the third floor in silence. My suite is the second floor on the right. The door swings open without a sound. Inside, the lamps are already lit. The bed is turned down. Someone has been here within the hour. Whoever they are, they left the room exactly the way Etienne would have left it. Use all your senses. A faint smell of lavender lingers in the air, the lavender of drawers. Mental mess was beneath. My steps sink into the thick carpet, softer than the marble downstairs, absorbing sound instead of returning it. The room does not return what I give it, but I give it. Sound, scent, attention, all of it goes in. None of it comes back. The decor. Warm lit from Two shaded lamps spilled across polished surfaces, catching dark wood and brass in soft reflections. The suite is tall, suspended somewhere between elegance and preservation. Nothing here seems touched by time or by life. Still, the decor is tasteful, if antiquated. Its opulence speaks of the many esteemed guests whose eyes is caught throughout the decades. We got the furniture. The furnishings are heavy, symmetrical, placed with an accuracy that borders on reverence. Their curtains are drawn tight across the windows, hiding whatever waits outside. On the writing desk lies a stack of hotel stationery, crisp, untouched. Next to it rests a quill pen with a silver nib on a porcelain holder, a relic from another century. The end of the feather is stained with the faintest trace of ink, as if it remembered a hand that hasn't touched it in years. Take a closer look at the desk. I brush my fingers across the leather blotter. Something underneath catches, a corner of a yellowed manuscript, folded neatly, nearly hidden, almost deliberately forgotten. I pull it free. It is a musical score bound by hand. Across the top margin of every sheet, in elegant print, a single name repeats, Etienne de Aubergine. I should have known. The title reads, Symphonie de jour et de la nuit. In sync act. Oh my god. This is a lot of reading. I'm happy I'm still intrigued with the story. Because if not, I would have stopped all of this reading a while ago. Look at Act 1. Oh, Act 2. Le Doubleur. The strings dominate the score immediately. Every line seems to compete with the next for space, as though the music itself is trying to claw its way to the front stage. My eyes follows the notations tighter and tighter until I'm 16, 20, 25 again, standing in rooms where only conversations already belong to someone else before I open my mouth. My brother's room, my brother's audience, my brother's applause. Every achievement in that house felt like interrupting a performance nobody wanted interrupted. The scores understands that far too well. Look at Act 1. Infant. The first act is written in the highest register, bright, composed. Every note a step the soloist must take alone. With the orchestra hanging back as if waiting for her to fall. The soloist is a girl. The orchestra is a family that produced her. There is no harmony beneath her, only counting. Every measure is numbered in the margin in this careful hand. The way my mother counted my achievements and never reached the right number. Don't break the rhythm. The lie holds everything together. Advice to a girl who mistook obedience for being seen. And she's doing the same thing with, what's her name again? Lucinda. I read it twice before I understand what I was reading. He wasn't writing about himself. He was writing about me? The hunger sharpens. I press my tongue across the back of my teeth. Let's look at Act 3. Precise notation, structured phrasing. Every line places exactly where it belongs with almost military discipline. Beautiful control, suffocating control. The music advances carefully, never staying far from the rhythm established beneath it, as the melody itself no longer trusts its own instinct without permission from something greater. Don't think, play. Lucinda, what she is to me, beneath the title, the patient teacher who rarely offers praise and is therefore worth chasing, the mother figure I went looking for the moment I left the first one in the ground. Look at Act 4. The ink presses harder into the page here. The notation drags it against itself in places, rhythms colliding and separating before resolving at the last possible second into something harsher than harmony, but too deliberate to call chaos, dissonance with intent. In Berlin, I learned the difference. He is telling me what Berlin will do to a judicious, fierce follower. He's writing my future in the past tense, the way prophets do. The room around me has gone very quiet. Let's look at Act 5. Encore. The score in the final act breathes simply unhurried. A single line carries through the composition, neither asking permission nor anticipating interruption. The line is him. He has been performing for someone in every act so far, performing for the tower, performing for Lucinda, performing for me in his way. Here the performance ends. I finish myself. The phrase sits strangely on the page. The phrase sits strangely on the page. In music, that means a final cadence, a piece resolving on its own terms. In French, something more intimate. He found a way to put himself down on paper without anyone holding the pen for him. The pages that follow are blank, except for a question mark where his name should be, repeated again and again, identical, deliberate, a challenge. He did this on purpose. He wrote 4 acts of a girl he should not have known, and a 5th act of a man finally writing only for himself, and left both on his desk for me to find. The room is smaller than it was an hour ago. The walls have not moved. I am the one who has shrunk into the space they were already prepared to hold. I have been the daughter, the wife, the widow, the apprentice, the hand, almost 2 centuries of carrying the right shape for whichever room I entered. I closed the score. My hands resisted. Every finger has to be peeled back from the cover separately. The hunger has... Was this always here? I don't know. The hunger has migrated from behind the eyes and settled to the jaw and the teeth. To get the red mandate. The red mandate rests inside my coat pocket, heavy against my ribs. I don't need to see it to feel the weight of Lucinda's seal pressing through the fabric. Be as I am with my enemies, Alice. Tonight, the memory sounds too much like the beast. A knock interrupts the silence. 3 sharp taps. Concierge, perhaps. The luggage from downstairs. Some final inconvenience. Dragged by the door at the worst possible moment. I rise anyway. Answer the door. The moment the latch clicks open, I know. My body knows who she is. She is a mother. The knowledge arrives whole and complete, shoved straight into my skull. My curse been true blood. She is the right kind, the only kind my blood would accept. She stands motionless beneath the yellow corridor light, middle-aged, plain coat, flat shoes darkened by rainwater. Her eyes stare slightly past me, unfocused, and most importantly, empty. Someone has been inside her head and hollowed out everything that was not necessary for the walk to my door. The woman lifts one hand mechanically. An envelope rests between stiff fingers. I barely look at it. My attention keeps snagging on the pulse in the throat, the only thing that will satisfy my rarefied taste. Someone arranged this before I can even reach the hotel. Someone knew where I would be, what I would need, what my curse would answer to. The thought horrified me more than I expected. Send her away. I don't trust this. The hunger hurts, but I take the envelope from her hand before I could decide to feed on her. Leave. The woman turns and walks away without a word, not knowing that she had narrowly escaped becoming tonight's vessel. I wait until the elevator doors close behind her. Inside the envelope waits a single card. Welcome to Berlin. What is this supposed to be? A warning? A test? A joke? I tear it in half. It does not help. Then I shut myself back into the suite, locking the door with unnecessary force. Despite my self-control, shame and hunger curse through my veins where her blood should be. I sit on the bed with the card in my lap and the score on the desk and the mandate in my coat, and none of it tells me what I need to know. But if someone in the city truly believes they can collar me with information, manipulate me with shame, steer me towards whatever political outcome they plan for Berlin tonight, then they have misunderstood me so completely it borders on suicidal. Lucinda forged me out of obedience and ambition. NTN. And if Berlin insists on treating me like a weapon, then perhaps it deserves to learn what happens when weapons stop caring where they swing. That's freaking cool. I He has survived every role assigned to him until he chose his own. Oh, let's look at these people. Okay, the Archives. Lucinde. Oh, wait, no, wait. Why is his name crossed out? That's why I'm so confused. Maxwell. And, oh, cute. Looks like pink. Go to slumber. There we go. Power is never free. Every favor creates a debt. The city watches. The city remembers. Thank you for playing the demo and stepping into Berlin's shadows. Continue the journey before release. The night is far from over. Oh, thank you. All right. This has been the demo for Vampire the Masquerade, Oath and Ashes. It's a lot of reading, but that's the kind of game it is. But the story is interesting. I really want to get her away from Lucinde. Because I'm just curious on what happened between Lucinde and Etienne. And why she wanted Thomas to stay. But either way, this has been a demo for Steam Next Fest. The demo is still out. If you want to do it yourself, you do your own, try your own choices, see what happens, see what different or the same. But thank you everyone again. I hope you're having a fantastic time and see you on the next one.